Hi, and welcome to Reed's Audio Reading. I'm Reed, and I hope you enjoy my channel. Today, I'll be reading the Accessory Guide to Hell, 2nd edition, specifically chapters 2 to 3. This accessory was written by Chris Pramas. Chapter 2, Character Options. This chapter provides some new character options for players. The focus is on material that's of use in the campaign with strong diabolical element. The chapter kicks off with 4 new kits: the Devil Slayer, the Thaumaturgist, the Inquisitor, and the Hellblade. Next is a brand new PC race, the Devilkin. These half-devils have unusual powers, but a reason to fear the ties that bind. This is followed by a description of a sample devil fighting organization on the prime material plane. New kits. Guide to Hell introduces 4 new kits for player characters, one for each of the class groups. All of the kits are focused on fighting the influence and minions of Hell and have several benefits. DMs should consider the campaigns carefully before introducing these kits. They may be too potent for some campaigns and too focused for others. Devil fighting skills are of little help if devils don't have a major role in the setting. DMs may choose to make kits available only to heroes who join and remain loyal to certain organizations. The Fiend option. The new kits are written as opponents of Hell and the diabolical in particular. The special abilities refer specifically to devils and are not meant to be used against demons as well. At the DM's option, however, the kits can be expanded so the special abilities affect all fiends. These include Bazetsu, Tanari, Yugalos, Jiharelets, and lesser fiends such as Imps and Holdings. This is entirely up to the DM, but would be appropriate for a campaign in which all of the lower planes figured largely. Changing kits. While the new kits presented here are best used when a character is first created, some players may want their longtime characters to acquire them. This actually makes a great deal of sense, since low-level characters have very little chance against the devils of Bator. An experienced character may decide to refocus his activities, and this decision can be represented by a change of kits. A player who wants his or her character to take on a new kit must first demonstrate through role-playing that the change is appropriate. For instance, a fighter who started as a superstitious barbarian might be changed through his adventuring experiences and contact with civilization. When he begins to understand the real nature of devils, he abandons his barbarian ways and kit and becomes a devil slayer, a fighter kit detailed below. Such a transformation should occur over a number of game sessions, and the DM may impose reasonable restrictions. For example, the DM may require the character to find a teacher and then spend a number of months training. If organized groups exist in character's world, he may have to pass through an initiation before gaining any benefits. When the DM feels the switch is justified, the character can take on the benefits and hindrances of the new kit. Special abilities from the previous kit can be kept as long as they do not depend on the character's continuation of his former lifestyle. So, for example, a character who had been a gladiator could keep his free weapon specialization. It's not like he'd suddenly forget how to use his trusted weapon, but the berserker would lose his ability to go berserk. Not so much because he can't, but because he's taken a new role with the new kit. Once the switch is complete, the character cannot go back without reversing the entire process. To avoid player abuse, DMs should rarely, if ever, let characters switch kits more than once. Devil Lore. Devil Lore is a new non-weapon proficiency introduced here. It costs 1 slot, is based on intelligence with no check modifier, and belongs to the wizard and priest proficiency groups. Those who know devil lore have studied the Bazetsu and their habits. On a successful check, they can identify devils by type on sight. Additional checks allow them to remember specific abilities and weakness of the identified devil. The kits. Each kit is broken down into the following entries. Description. General notes about the kit with suggestions for fitting into a campaign. Role. A character created with this kit would serve as a certain role in his campaign world. A few basic suggestions are offered. Weapon proficiencies. If a kit gives a benefit to the use of a certain type of weapon or provides some other change to weapon proficiencies, that information is given here. Non weapon proficiencies. Some kits require that the character possesses certain non weapon proficiencies. Bonus proficiencies are granted automatically at no cost. Required proficiencies are gained normally and must be taken with proficiency slots. Required proficiencies should be taken from the appropriate character class proficiency group. Recommended proficiencies are optional, but useful and appropriate to the kit, and are gained normally. If a recommended proficiency comes from a group not listed for the character's class, the proficiency costs one additional slot, unless the specific kit states otherwise. Equipment. Some kits impose restrictions or requirements concerning a character's use of equipment. Other kits may allow characters who use the kit to automatically begin the game with certain items. This section describes such benefits. Special benefits. Every kit has advantages that offset its restrictions and requirements. These benefits are presented here and vary greatly from kit to kit. Special hindrances. All kits have particular drawbacks which are listed here. Wealth options. This section gives the gold piece wealth for starting characters created with this kit. Devil Slayer. Description. The Devil Slayer kit is open to fighters, rangers, and paladins. Those who choose this path dedicate themselves to fighting the influence of devils on their home worlds. They can be part of an organized group, driven loners with a grudge, or anything in between. The only thing Devil Slayers have in common is a desire to defeat the forces of hell. To achieve their goal, they learn special combat techniques and study the modus operandi of their enemies. Role. The role of the Devil Slayer is largely dependent on your campaign. On some worlds, they are heroes of the people and are celebrated as such. On others, they are seen as dangerous threats to the status quo, whose meddling might bring down the wrath of the powers they seek to combat. DMs should decide what place Devil Slayers have in the society of the campaign world. Weapon proficiencies. The Devil Slayer can spend his weapon proficiencies in any way he chooses. Non weapon proficiencies, bonus, Devil Lore, and Endurance. Recommended General Direction Sense, Riding, Swimming, Ancient History, Priest, cost only one slot. Spellcraft, Warrior, Blind Fighting, Navigation, Survival. Equipment. Devil Slayers can spend their starting money on any way they choose. They tend to favor the Bastard Sword due to the weapon's effectiveness against large creatures. Special benefits. The entire focus of the Devil Slayer is combating the minions of hell. Each Slayer trains rigorously, learning the strengths and weaknesses of his enemies and how to exploit them. This special training gives Devil Slayers 4 special abilities. 1. At first level, Devil Slayers receive a +1 damage bonus when fighting devils. This increases by a further +1 at each third level, 3rd, 6th, ninth, and so on. 2. At third level, Devil Slayers can use normal weapons to hit Bazetsu that normally require a +1 or better weapon to hit. Every 2 levels thereafter, Devil Slayers can hit creatures as if they wielded weapons of 1 greater +2 at 5th level, +3 at 7th level, +4 at ninth level, and +5 on 11th level. 3. At 5th level, the Devil Slayer becomes immune to fear caused by devils, either naturally or through the use of spells. 4. At ninth level, the Devil Slayer becomes immune to the beguiling effects of devils. Special hindrances. Devil Slayers are at best focused, at worst obsessive. They must attack Bazetsu in preference over all the other opponents, no matter the circumstance. They also have difficulty controlling themselves in the presence of devils. To restrain themselves from immediately attacking any Bazetsu encountered, sometimes it is useful to talk to devils or await better circumstances for attack. Devil Slayers must make a wisdom check every round. DMs can, at their option, modify this check to take circumstances into account. Wealth options. Devil Slayers get 5d4 times 10 starting GP. Thaumaturgist Description. Thaumaturgists are wizards who specialize in matters diabolic. Unlike diabolists who embrace the evil of Bator, thaumaturgists use their knowledge to oppose hell. They usually have extensive libraries, including books that may have been banned by civil or religious authorities. Through their study of such forbidden tomes, they have learned much about hell and its denizens. They also master magical techniques that make them a true threat to devils wherever the minions of lawful evil are encountered. Role. Thaumaturgists play two roles. On one hand, they are the sagely experts who can dispense sound advice on dealing with devils. On the other hand, they are masters of magic who can take on devils and hold their own. Both roles require study, training, and excellent critical faculties. Histories written about the lower planes, while a valuable resource, are always filled with clever descriptions and outright lies. Separating out the true from the false is perhaps the most challenging aspect of being a thaumaturgist. This kit is open to all wizards except illusionists and transmuters, who lack the ability to use the crucial sphere of abjuration. Weapon proficiencies. Thaumaturgists receive the weapon proficiencies and choices of the wizard class. They tend to favor staves because they are handy for parrying when the fight gets up close and personal. Non weapon proficiencies. Bonus. Ancient History Bator. Devil Lore. Required Read, Write, Spellcraft. Recommended General, Heraldry, Rogue, Forgery, Wizard, Ancient Languages, and Religion. Equipment. In addition to their normal starting equipment, thaumaturgists receive 1d10 times 10 GP worth of arcane tomes on a variety of topics. These are likely books the character copied from her mentor during her apprenticeship. Special benefits. Thaumaturgists learn special spellcasting techniques to make their magic more effective against devils. The primary aim of these techniques is to circumvent the magic resistance of the target. Whenever the thaumaturgist casts a spell at one or more Bazetsu, the magic resistance of the targets is reduced by 2% for each level of the caster. At 7th level, thaumaturgists learn how to prevent devils from using their gate ability to bring in reinforcements from hell. When a Bazetsu attempts to gate in further devils, a thaumaturgist who has not acted yet in that round can attempt to disrupt the calling. By throwing raw magical power at the coalescing gate, the thaumaturgist reduces the chance of success by 15% plus 1% per level. Whether or not the gate is disrupted, the attempt counts as the wizard's action for the round, so he cannot also cast a spell for instance. Also, thaumaturgists learn how to research the true names of devils, often by using their own libraries. Each attempt takes 2d12 months of research time and has a chance of success of 2% per level of the thaumaturgist. This increases to 3% if the wizard has access to the legend lore spell. The DM can modify this chance as appropriate and may deem that the true names of particular devils are simply too well hidden to be found. A wizard must know the target's true name to cast the spells Coafiend, Ensnarement, Spirit Rack, and True Name. Special hindrance. Thaumaturgists must spend at least half of their income purchasing arcane books and other magical and non magical apparatus. They are also likely to attract the attention of locals. They may have problems with superstitious peasants, intolerant churches, and authoritarian governments. Although thaumaturgists use their knowledge of hell to find its machinations, most folks only see a reclusive wizard with strange powers and blasphemous books. Wealth options. Thaumaturgists receive 1d4 plus 1 times 10 GP in starting money. This money can be spent freely, but any further earnings are subject to the hindrance detailed above. Inquisitor. Description. Very few mortals understand the malevolent effect of devils on society. The sweet seduction of Aranius and other diabolical agents sends thousands of souls to Bator to provide soldiers for the blood war. On the prime material plane, this war is nearly undetectable, but humanity is not defenseless. Clerics, known as inquisitors, keep watch over their flocks and weed out diabolical influence when it arises. Both clerics and specialty priests can choose the kit, though not all priesthoods are appropriate. Worshippers of a goddess Mercy, for instance, would hardly make likely inquisitors. The DM is the final arbiter and should work with the player to create an appropriate rationale for the inquisitor's activities. Role: An inquisitor's primary job is to protect her homeworld from the corrupting influences of the diabolic. Inquisitors ferret out devils on their home plane, especially the wicked Aranius. When necessary, they can also act as full blown warriors of the faith. Due to their methods and demeanor, inquisitors are often feared and avoided. Few people enjoy being scrutinized, especially by those who are considered fanatics. Weapon proficiencies. Inquisitors use the weapons normally available to their priesthoods. Additionally, they receive free proficiency in the Scourge, which is often used to coerce information out of the diabolists. Non weapon proficiencies. Bonus. Devil lore. Required. Religion. Recommended. General rope use. Priest. Healing. Reading. Writing. Spellcraft. Warrior. Tracking. Cost 2 slots only. Equipment. Inquisitors make frequent use of holy water. Each one starts with 1d3 vials. Some inquisitors also carry specialized kits of scalpels, restraints, and pincers for use on the guilty. The kits cost 20 gold pieces, but their use may cause problems for those of good alignment. DM's description. Special benefits. Inquisitors spend hours each day in prayer, purifying their souls and strengthening their wills. Such is their resilience that they are immune to charm spells of all types. In addition, they gain a +2 bonus on their attempt to turn devils. See the Turning Fiends table in Chapter 1. Their special distinctive ability is a special ritual to restore the alignment of those seduced to evil by diabolic forces. Those who choose evil all on their own are out of luck. The ritual takes a full day and involves the Inquisitor spiritually tearing the evil from the victim. The process is terribly painful, but must be entered into the free will. For example, no knocking someone unconscious and goodifying them. For each hit die of the victim, roll a 1d8, then subtract the Inquisitor's level from the total. This is how much damage the ritual causes. Those who survive the process are purified, and their original alignment is restored. Special hindrances. Nobody likes an inquisitor, especially one backed up by the power of the church. With the exception of colleagues, inquisitors are shunned by most folks. Some just fear their power, while others fear that they've spent too much time near the darkness. Inquisitors must spend at least 4 hours a day in prayer. Those who consistently miss their prayers can, at the DM's discretion, begin to lose their special benefits. This should be handled on a case by case basis, but don't be afraid to penalize players who abuse the rules. Wealth options. Inquisitors start with 46 times 10 gold pieces. Hellblade Description: The battle against the diabolic is not always fought in the open. While in some areas inquisitors can root out the devils backed by the power of their church, not all regions have that luxury. Sometimes the diabolist is the mayor of the city or some other political untouchable. In these situations, a devil slayer cannot simply knock down the door with sword in hand. This kind of work requires finesse and subtlety. It calls in short for a Hellblade. Hellblades are rogues, bards, or thieves who fight the diabolic in their own way. They may be members of the secret society or simply those who take justice in their own hands. Role: Hellblades do humanity's dirty work. Firm believers in the ends justify the means. They use every trick and double cross to impede the work of diabolic forces. They usually do such work without sanction, or at least in secret. Thieves tend to take the direct approach, using their stealth and backstab abilities to great effect. Bards tend to use more subtlety. Rather than attacking directly, they might, for instance, use their ability to influence reactions to stir up angry crowd. Their spells are not to be discounted. Weapon proficiencies. Hellblades receive a free proficiency in a slaying weapon of their choice. These tend to be one-handed weapons suitable for backstabbing. Non-weapon proficiencies. Bonus. Devil Lore Disguise. Recommended. General. Direction Sense. Rope use. Priest. Reading, writing. Rogue. Blind fighting. Jumping. Reading lips. Set snares. Tightrope walking. Ventriloquism. Warrior. Navigation. Wizard. Spellcraft. Equipment. A Hellblade gets a slaying weapon for free. See below. Otherwise, he buys equipment normally. Special benefits. The beginning thief skill of a Hellblade receive the following modifications. Bards ignore the modifiers for skills they don't have. Detect noise, plus 10%. Hide in shadows, plus 5%. Move silently, plus 5%. Find/remove traps, minus 5%. Read languages, minus 5%. In addition, they gain two additional thief skills, Detect Devils and Detect Illusions. Hellblades can choose one weapon to be their slaying weapon. With this weapon only, they attack as if they were a fighter of the same level. A 4th level Hellblade, for instance, would have a normal THAC0 of 19, but a THAC0 of 17 with his slaying weapon. Thief Hellblades make a special study of the anatomy of devils. This allows them to pick just the right place to strike, and increase their backstab multiplier by an extra factor. A 5th level thief, for example, would have a times 4 damage multiplier when backstabbing a Bazetsu instead of his normal times 3. Bard Hellblades use the same knowledge to help them target their spells. They receive a +1 bonus to each die of damage when they use spells against Bazetsu. Special Hindrances. Hellblades have no time for foolery. They do not learn the pickpocket skill. Because they usually operate outside the law, they often have trouble with the watch and other police services. Depending on the governing laws, Hellblades may even be hunted like criminals. This possibility is especially likely if the Hellblades are organized into a secret society, which makes it that much easier for evil adversaries in positions of authority to use the weight of the law against the Hellblades. Wealth options. Hellblades receive 2d6 times 10 gold pieces of starting money. New thief skills. Detect illusions. Hellblades learn how to spot the telltale signs of an illusion. Most spellcasters use shortcuts in their illusions so they can be cast quickly, for instance, leaving the background slightly blurred on the assumption that onlookers will be transfixed by active part of the illusion. Hellblades learn to look for these signs, and they can attempt to detect illusions with their line of sight up to 90 feet away. Base score 10%. Detect devils. Hellblades hone all their senses to an extreme degree. They have learned that each devil has a particular odor, and they have become adept at sniffing them out. A Hellblade can attempt to detect devils up to 40 feet away. If he is successful, then for each full 10% by which the die result is lower than his skill score, he can determine one of the following: the type of devil, the number of them, and the direction they are traveling. For example, a Hellblade with a 45% detect devil score rolls a 34 on his attempt. Since this is 11% below his skill, he can find out one extra piece of information, either type, number, or direction. Base score 5%. Devilkin. It is not uncommon for devils on the prime material plane to seduce mortals, usually while polymorphed so as to hide their true form. The Araignées do it frequently, but for some reason female devils are infertile. The males of the species, however, are not, and more than one pit fiend has fathered a little bundle of joy with a mortal mother. These half Bazetsu children are commonly known as Devilkin. Devilkin are quite rare. Few survive past adolescence. Few societies show tolerance when horns and tails start sprouting out their youngsters, and many Devilkin are killed by fearful mobs. Those who survive are often bitter, and such they embrace evil to gain vengeance over their tormentors. Still, evil is not a gentle trait, And a diabolic father is no guarantee that the child will follow in daddy's claw steps. DMs can allow Devilkin player characters at their discretion. Such characters receive a +1 bonus to strength and intelligence, and a -1 penalty to dexterity and a -2 penalty to charisma. Devilkin can be fighters, wizards, including specialist mages, priests, thieves, or bards. They can also pursue multi-class options, including wizard slash fighter, fighter slash priest, fighter slash thief, wizard slash thief, and priest slash thief. The basic appearance of Devilkin is that of their mortal parents. By the end of adolescence, however, they always manifest some features of their devilish side. This virtue varies widely depending on what type of devil did the deed. Pit fiends and gelugons are the most common culprits since they can polymorph naturally. When creating a Devilkin character, roll a 1d6 and refer to the following list to determine a diabolic feature. 1. Horns. Devilkin with horns can execute a special gore attack. This attack replaces all normal attacks for the round, but it receives a +2 bonus to hit and inflicts 1d8 damage plus strength bonus as normal. 2. Tail. The Devilkin has a prehensile tail. The tail provides one extra attack per round with a damage of 1d4. It can also wield any small sized weapon the Devilkin is proficient with. 3. Wings. The Devil King has a set of gargoyle like wings that allow flight at a rate of 12 and a maneuverability class of C. 4. Claws. The Devil King has razor sharp claws on his hands and or feet. Instead of using a weapon, the Devil King can make 2 claw attacks per round that inflict 1d4 damage each. 5. Fangs. Long fangs protrude from the Devil King's mouth. Instead of normal attacks, the Devil King can make a special bite attack. This bite inflicts 1d4 damage, and the Devil King can continue to rend on subsequent rounds. The victim can attempt to break free with a strength check each round, but if unsuccessful, takes an additional 1d4 damage. The Devil King can take no other actions while rendering. 6. Scales. Large sections of the Devilkin's body are covered with small scales, providing a +1 bonus to armor class. Devilkin also inherits some of the magical power of their Bazetsu fathers. Roll a 1d6 and refer to the table below. 1d6 roll, special ability. 1. See perfectly in darkness. 2. +2 on saving throws versus cold and poison. 3. Use known alignment once per day. 4. Half damage from fire based attacks. 5. Use Phantasmal Force once per day. 6. 1% magic resistance per level. While the potential bonuses of playing a Devilkin are tempting, the character is sure to attract attention of the worst kind. Those who do not react with outright hostility are bound to mistrust the unholy scion of a devil. The character's deeds may sway opinion, but suspicion will likely remain at the back of the people's minds. A potentially larger problem is a Bazetsu father. As mentioned earlier, some births are intentional. Devils plan for centuries in advance, so waiting a few decades for an offspring to mature is a short wait by comparison. What do you do when your pit fiend father shows up and incorporates you into one of his schemes? That's the challenge of playing a Devilkin. Lord de la Croix Rose Vertas, Order of the Rosy Cross of Truth, is an example organization built using the new kit described in this chapter. The Order's home is the Greyhawk campaign setting, but it can be easily slotted into any campaign by changing any aspect of its history. History. The founder of Order of the Rosy Cross of Truth is a man named Ormus. As a young man, Ormus became a priest of Ro, a god of peace, serenity, and reason. He served in the church of his home country, the archclericy of Beluna, and took on a role of peacemaker. Unfortunately for Ormus, the Flaness was engulfed in a bitter series of conflicts known as the Greyhawk Wars. Despite the best efforts of Ormus and other peacemakers, the wars raged for 3 long years, and countless innocents were slaughtered as armies marched back and forth across the continents. The greatest slap in the face to the priests of Rome came the Pact of the Greyhawk. The treaty meant to end the wars once and for all was proposed by the conniving leadership of the Scarlet Brotherhood. Nonetheless, Ormus and the other diplomats convened in the city of Greyhawk for the great signing, only to watch helplessly as the botched attempt to assassinate all the ambassadors turned the city into a battleground in a matter of minutes. Discouraged, Ormus returned home to Veluna. Within 2 years, Canon Hazen and leader of Veluna helped the Archmage Bigby and other banish many of the demons of the Flaness. Although Ormus could not deny the good of banishing vile creatures such as demons, it seems to fly in the face of his understanding of the ways of Ro. If the spiritual leaders of his priesthood took such direct actions against the forces of evil, how could Ormus continue to promote the making of peace? At this critical moment, Ormus met Billet Marcel, a priest of Saint Cuthbert. The two engaged in a heated theological debate, with Ormus defending the path of peace and Marcel promoting the smiting of evil. Every time Marcel smashed his cudgel on the table while driving a point home, Ormus could feel his faith weakening. The two priests debated until dawn, and by the time the sun came up, Ormus knew what he must do. That very morning he resigned from the Church of Rho and hung up his peacemaker's robes, donning the simple brown robes of a penitent. Ormus followed Billet Marcel back to the Furandi to learn the ways of Sword Cuthbert. 6 of his followers followed him into exile. Crusade. The new converts arrived in Ferrandi just in time to join the Great Northern Crusade against Ayus. Scant weeks after his conversion, with new faith burning in his heart, Ormus led his followers into the Verse Forest. He had learned of a former monastery of Saint Cuthbert, now controlled by an evil warlord in Ayu's service. The 7 priests found the monastery, now a virtual fortress full of evil warriors and undead. With the might of Saint Cuthbert on their side, the 7 priests assaulted the monastery alone. Their spells called down cleansing fire, they turned undead to dust, and their mighty mace blows crushed skulls. Unbelievably, Ormus and his followers won the day. The warlord yielded to Ormus's mercy, explaining that he was a former worshipper of Saint Cuthbert and had been led astray by a devil in human form. The 2 of Ormus' followers fell that day, the first martyrs of many to come. Word of Ormus's deed spread quickly, attracting followers by the hundreds. Ormus reconstructed the monastery of St. Cuthbert and refortified it as well. Ormus then led his new followers in further campaigns against the forces of Ayus until the Great Crusade lost its momentum and Froyundi paused to consolidate. With a slacking of hostilities, Ormus finally had time to think. St. Cuthbert had graced him with righteous powers, a powerful fortress, and loyal followers. But what would he do with these boons now that the crusade was over? The order is born. Ormus's thoughts return to the defeated warlord, who has been languishing in the prison for the length of the crusade. Ormus interviewed the former warlord and determined that the man was in fact telling the truth. He had been a worshipper of St. Cuthbert until he was seduced by a devil and turned to evil. This was not the first time Ormus had heard this story, nor the first case of diabolic influence in the Flaness. According to Canon Hazen and the Church of Rho, all fiends had been banished from the Flaness. Ormus, however, had his doubts and initiated an investigation. As he suspected, only the demons had been affected. Since Ayus used them in large numbers, their absence was obvious. When Canon Hazen affirmed that the other fiends had gone with the demons, no one doubted him. But now, Ormus knew better. The devils were not only still in the Flaness, they benefited from the widespread belief that they had been banished. Ormus knew he had to stop them. Ormus proceeded to build an organization dedicated to rooting out diabolic influence across the Flaness. He was able to build the skeleton of this organization quickly, and his prestige ensured that it grew rapidly. The Church of St. Cuthbert was not exactly excited by the sudden emergence of a new order, but there was little it could do. Declaring a hero such as Ormus to be a heretic and persecuting his followers was obviously out of the question, so the church simply incorporated the new order into its organization and ensured that Ormus would report to the high priest. The order today, it is now the year 591 CY, and L'Ordre Les Croix Roses Vertas has flourished for the past 4 years. The order is based at l'Abbaye de la Croix Glarassou in the Vespi forest. It has spread to the Grand March, the Ulex, and the Ernst, and has proved very popular among the followers of St. Cuthbert. The order has three public branches and one secret branch. The colors of each branch also indicate the color of the robes they wear while in the monastery. All members wear the symbol of St. Cuthbert, from which the order gets its name, emblazoned on their robes. La Croix Verte. The Green Cross is made of priests of St. Cuthbert. They run the order under the leadership of Ormus. The most powerful members of La Croix Verte are the Inquisitors, whose job is to detect diabolic influence in the public at large. They have aroused a certain amount of resentment, especially among the stars of the Church of St. Cuthbert, who see them as a threat to their authority. Ormus, of course, serves as a Grand Master of the Order as a whole. La Croix Verte has its own leader, Master Gerbert of the Billet, an aging priest with a balding pate. Gerbert's stooped form belies a vigorous faith. He does his best to curb the excess of the inquisitors and acts as a liaison to the Church of St. Cuthbert. La Croix Blaine. The White Cross is a military branch of the order. In battle, its members wear white tabards embroidered with St. Cuthbert's symbol. Each monastery has a garrison of battle brothers from La Croix Blanche. Many of these are veterans from the Crusade. The elite members of the White Cross are devil slayers, who are trained to defeat devils in individual combat. Unlike the members of the garrison, the devil slayers tend to operate individually or in a very small groups. Their master is a sacred veteran named Godfrey de Abur. A legendary campaigner, Godfrey's skills at strategy has saved the order from disaster on more than one occasion. The young warriors under Godfrey's command whisper that he went to hell and fought his way free. If this is true, it's nothing that Godfrey talks about. La Croix Blanche. Although Ormus left the Church of Rome behind, he did not abandon his belief in the usefulness of research and investigation. He therefore recruited wizards who specialize in the study of the diabolic. Although they are notorious for working in solitude, Ormus won them over through the resources of the order. These wizards, dubbed thaumaturgists, literally miracle workers, to play up their association with the order, were organized into the Blue Cross. While faith in St. Cuthbert was certainly a plus, Ormus did not require it of his wizards. Their skill and dedication to the cause were enough. The master of La Croix Bleue is an energetic war wizard named Simoni. A great bear of a man, Simoni looks more warrior than wizard. He fought the armies of Ayuz for many years, and his fire spells saved the Crusaders so often that he began to refer to him as Brimstone. Although there are better researchers among the La Croix Bleue, none other has the leadership talent and natural charisma of Simoni. La Croix Noire. Officially, the Black Cross does not exist. In fact, only the masters and a select few others within the order know of its existence. Founded just 2 years ago, La Croix Noire was the brainchild of Godfrey du Abur. The Master Devil Slayer convinced Ormus that the order needed a secret strike force to operate behind the scenes. Ormus was initially resistant since such methods seemed dishonorable, but then, in the face of Godfrey's continued arguments, Ormus realized he still sometimes thought like a priest of Ro. Enemies as evil as devils deserve neither honorable treatment nor mercy, he decreed, and he ordered the creation of the Black Rose on the spot. Finding men with the right skills willing to join a religious order was more difficult than expected, but in the end, an answer presented itself. Ilsa the Wolf, a notorious bandit and cutthroat, gave up her evil ways after an encounter with an inquisitor. She appeared at the gates of the monastery, asking to join the priesthood of Saint Cuthbert. She was allowed to join the order and then watched carefully for several months. Once the masters were convinced that her conversion was genuine, Ormus sent for her. He asked her to use her skills in the service of the order, and she promised to do her best. She had since recruited a select group of thieves and dubbed them the Hellfighters. The other masters watch Ilsa and the Black Cross closely, but so far there has been no trouble. When stealth is required, Members of La Croix Noire stand ready. Chapter 3 Spells and Magic. Wizards cannot leave well enough alone. This fact, as well as anything, explains their unhealthy fascination with devil summoning. Every would be summoner thinks he is capable of outsmarting hell, and that he needn't worry about the repercussions of dealing with devils. Hell is brimming with souls such as these. This chapter focuses on spells and magical items that are concerned with devils and their homeland. All the spells that deal with the summoning of devils, with the exception of ensnarement in the player's handbook, have been gathered here, and new spells have been added. Several magical items are also introduced. Cacofiend, Conjuration slash Summoning. Level Wizard 7. Range 10 feet. Duration Special. Area of effect 1 creature. Components V, S, M. Casting time 1d8 hours. Saving throw Special. This perilous spell summons a powerful fiend, a true Tanari, a great Bazetsu, or a greater Yugoloth. Coca Fiend isn't powerful enough to summon a unique fiend, and lesser sorts can't be summoned by this spell. The caster must know the true name of the creature he is summoning. If the caster is interrupted during the casting time, his spell fails. If an interruption occurs after the fiend appears, there is a 10% chance that the fiend can escape its boundaries and attack the wizard. This percentage chance is cumulative for each round of interruption. A fiend is entitled to a special saving throw against this spell. If the fiend rolls higher than caster's level on a 2d10, the summoning does not work. Failure can occur because the name used was not perfectly correct, or the named fiend is already imprisoned or dead. In either event, any future attempt to call the same fiend using the same name automatically fails. A fiend summoned by this spell is most angry and vilely disposed. The caster must be warded and protected by a protection from evil spell, and the fiend must be confined within a magical diagram if the wizard wants to avoid being slain or carried off bodily. The summoned fiend can be coerced to perform some deed in one or three ways as follows. 1. By threatening to cast a spirit rack spell, the wizard can force the monster to swear an oath to follow a certain course of action, freeing the fiend only when the creature completes the service. This method is extremely dangerous, for a fiend seizes on any minor error in such a bargain to spoil the desired outcome or to simply kill the summoner. Further, the fiend bears great hatred for the wizard after such forced obedience. 2. By offering tribute, blood, and sacrifices, the summoner may convince the fiend to serve willingly. The caster is advised to have ample protection and power to defend himself, for the fiend might decide the offer is insufficient and not accept the offered bargain. Though the fiend must abide by a pledge, since its name is known, it must hold only to the word of an agreement, not the spirit. However, only evil wizards are likely to attempt such a bargain, and a summoned fiend might be favorably disposed toward such a character. 3. The summoned fiend can be the target of a trapped the soul spell. In this case, the wizard does not speak the creature or bargain for its service, although the fiend might be eager to reach an agreement with the wizard before being forced into imprisonment. Attempting to trap the fiend is risky only if proper precautions are ignored, for failure means only that the fiend escapes to its home plane. If trapped, however, the fiend remains imprisoned until the owner of the confining object breaks it and frees the creature, at which time the wizard must ask the fiend to perform a service before returning to the lower planes. If the person freeing the fiend fails to demand a service when the fiend asks what it's required of it, the fiend is under no constraint not to slay its liberator on the spot. If a service is required, however, the creature must first do its best to perform the task and then must return to its home. The fiend serves only for a limited duration, unless it serves willingly. Any action that is impossible or requires more than a week to perform is 50% likely to free the fiend from its obligations. A liberated fiend may seek revenge against the caster, for the creature can remain on the plane to which it is summoned for up to 2 years. This spell is useless if cast on the home plane of the creature to be summoned. The components of the spell include white wax, mandrake root, a bottle of red wine, a piece of parchment inscribed with the target's name, and an offering that would tempt a fiend. Like Spirit Rack, this spell originated on Acheron and was created to add to the armies fighting the conflicts there. Its use has spread throughout the planes and is the bane of fiends that do not wish to be disturbed, which obviously is most of them. Exercise, Abjuration, Level, Cleric 4, Sphere, Necromantic, Range, 10 feet, Duration, Permanent, Area Effect, 1 creature or object, Components, V, S, M, Casting Time, 1 plus turns, Saving Throw, None. This spell negates possession of a creature or an object by any outside or supernatural force. This includes control of a creature by some force in an object, possession by a magic jar spell, demonic possession, curses, and even charms, for the exorcise spell is similar to a dispel magic spell. Furthermore, it affects a magical item if such is the object of the exorcism. Thus, a sole object of any type affected by a successful exorcism expels the life force contained to inhabit the nearest material body wholly and completely. The exercise spell, once begun, cannot be interrupted or else it is spoiled and useless. The base chance for success is 1% to 100%. Roll percentile dice for each separate casting of the spell. After each turn of casting, the dice are rolled, and if the base chance number or less is rolled, the spell is successful. If the result is higher than the base chance, the casting continues for one more turn. The base chance of success is modified by 1% for each level of difference between the priest's level of experience and the level of the possessor or the possessing magic. If the priest's level is higher, this number is a bonus, improving his chance of success. If his level is lower, this number is a penalty. The material components for this spell are the holy symbol of the priest and holy water, or unholy symbol and unholy water in the case of evil priests. A religious artifact or relic can increase the chance of success by from 1% to 50% according to its power. Major Pact, Abjuration, Level, Wizard 5, Range, Special, Duration, Special, Area of Effect, Caster and one Devil, Components, V, S, M, Casting Time, 2 plus turns, Saving Throw, None. Major Pact is a more serious version of Minor Pact. The basic method is the same, but a Major Pact creates a long-term relationship between a devil and the spellcaster. This is usually a patron-client relationship, with the wizard agreeing to act as the devil's agent in return for specified favors. The devil is likely to try to wiggle out of the agreement, but it may use the mortal for a long time before doing so. Again, the bargaining process is quite important and should be role-played. Writing out the imaginary contract could be fun for the DM and the player, and useful for later role-playing. The terms of a major pact usually last for 1 to 5 years, though longer pacts are possible. Many devils serving under a major pact strictly limit the number of times they can be summoned during this period. The material components for this spell are a vellum scroll worth 100 GP, ink made of dragon blood 250 GP, and a quill from a cockatrice 500 GP. Minor Pact, Abjuration, Level, Wizard 3, Range, Special, Duration, Special, Area of Effect, Caster, and one Devil, Components, V, S, M, Casting Time, 3 plus rounds, Saving Throw, None. This spell is a ritualized means to make bargains with devils. The wizard begins by opening up a magical connection between herself and the target devil, who must already be present, likely at the behest of a summoning spell. This takes one round and involves the wizard calling down dreadful curses on those who break the pact. Once the connection is established, the bargaining can begin. This process must be role-played, and it is up to the player and the DM to come up with the actual agreement. The bargaining can take as little as one round or as much as several hours. Once the agreement has been settled on, the wizard seals the spell, which takes one round. The minor pact is a temporary agreement. The wizard can bargain for one task, which should not take the devil longer than 1 week to complete. A common task is the protection of the wizard for a length of a particular journey. The devil does not travel with the wizard, but can be summoned by an appropriate spell to any point during the specified time. It's up to the DM to decide what is a proper task. Devils must live up to the letter of an agreement, but they are masters of deception. For more information on dealing with devils and what they want from mortals, see Chapter 1. The material components are a scroll of fine vellum, worth 50 gold pieces, ink made with the blood of a snake, 10 gold pieces, and a quill. Native item: enchantment/charm. Level: Wizard 4. Range: touch. Duration: 1 turn/level. Area of effect: 1 magical item. Components: V, S, M. Casting time: 4. Saving throw: none. When magical items are taken from their plane of creation, they often lose some of their potency. Those particularly affected are the items with pluses, such as magical weapons, armor, and rings or cloaks of protection. This spell temporarily and artificially restores one item, so it functions as if it were on its home plane. If a single character has in his possession more than one item with the spell cast upon it, there is a 10% chance, cumulative per item, that a backlash of planar energy inflicts 6d6 points of damage on the person who holds the items. Also, there is a 20% chance that each item will be drawn back to its plane of origin. Check for each item separately. This check is made each time a character adds another item with this spell cast on it to his possessions. To cast native item, the wizard rubs the magical item with the material components, a bit of soil or water or the closest equivalent from the item's plane of origin. Spirit Rack. Abjuration Evocation. Level: Wizard 6. Range: 10 feet plus 10 feet/level. Duration: Special. Area of effect: Special. Components: V, M. Casting time: Special. Saving throw: Special. A Spirit Rack spell is a very strong protection and a punishment spell against the high up creatures of the nether planes. In order to employ the magic, the spellcaster must know the true name of the target of the spell. Prior to actually uttering the spell, the wizard must prepare an illuminated sheet of vellum, carefully inscribing the spell and the target's name. He must use special inks made from powdered rubies and the ichor of a slain tenari, then ornament the vellum with gold leaf. This preparation requires 8 to 32 1d4 times 8 hours and costs 6,000 GP for all supplies. If the outer planar creature is present, the caster can begin the actual incantation. During each round of reading, the target has a 25% cumulative chance to concede without any inducements. It takes 3 rounds to verbalize the spell. When the caster begins reading the document, the target creature becomes immobile, unless it makes its magical resistance roll. If the roll succeeds, the monster is nevertheless racked. This pain is likely to retreat to its own plane if it can. Regardless of the roll's result, the target is powerless to attack the wizard while he reads the spell. Reading the first part takes 1 round, with the target's discomfort increasing. During the second round, the creature loses 1 hit point per hit die. At the end of this round, the target is in extreme pain. The third and final round of the reading reduces the creature's remaining hit points by 50%, causes horrible pain, and exiles the creature to its home plane, imprisoned in pain for a number of years equal to the caster's level. Target creatures become the sworn foe of these wizards, a fact few spellcasters care to contend with. Most wizards are likely to create the document and use it as a threat to force the creature into submission rather than actually cast or finish the spell. This spell is only a limited use on the fiend's home plane. Spirit Rack is said to have originated on the plane of Echeron, where it's used to coerce fiends into the external warfare there. To the dismay of many fiends, it has become much more widely known, even making its way to the prime material plane. Wizards use this spell as a tool in making bargains with fiends. deals that might actually stick. Even the threat of the document can sometimes intimidate a fiend, but woe to those wizards who try such a bluff and fail. Summon Least Bazetsu. Conjuration, Summoning. Level Wizard 3. Range Special. Duration 1 round plus 1 round slash level. Area of Effect 30-yard radius. Components V, S, M. Casting time 4. Saving throw None. This spell is a specialized version of a monster summoning one that calls forth the lowest forms of devil kind. Lis Bazetsu, lemurs, and Nuparibos are mindless creatures that form the bulk of the rank and file troops of the armies of hell. While they can be summoned, they cannot be bargained with. They simply lack the mental capacity to communicate. Like subjects of other monster summoning spells, Lis Bazetsu need only be pointed toward a foe and they will attack relentlessly. The spell summons 2d4 lemurs or 2d6 Nuparibos, caster's choice. The caster can command them to attack a particular foe or group of foes. The Bazetsu attack the indicated foes until they are killed or the spell's duration ends. If the specified foes are killed and the spell is still active, the Bazetsu attack the creatures closest to them, which could be the caster and his allies. The material component of Summon Least Bazetsu is a freshly killed animal. Summon Lesser Bazetsu. Conjuration, Summoning. Level Wizard 4. Range 5 yards. Duration 1d6 turns. Area of Effect 1 creature. Components V, S, M. Casting time 1d8 turns. Saving throw None. This spell summons up a lesser devil from the depths of hell. The wizard must know the true name of the devil being summoned. Access to the true names is up to the DM. Bazetsu torn to the prime material plane are usually not happy about it, so the wizard must chalk a warding diagram around him and cast a protection from evil spell before the casting begins. Wizards not protected in this way will be immediately attacked by the summoned devil. Scrolls of this spell are often found with the name of a devil as part of the spell. A wizard can substitute a true name he has researched, or try his luck with the name supplied by the copyist. Those using the scroll as it should roll 1d20 and consult the list below. 1 to 6. Name is incorrect, no devil is summoned. 7 to 9. Named devil has been demoted to lemur status. While lemur does appear when summoned, it is mindless and cannot bargain. 10 to 11. Black Abishai. 12. Green Abishai. 13. Red Abishai. 14. Spinagon. 15. Osiloth. 16. Barbazu. 17. Arenius. 18. Korkrachon. 19. Hamatula. 20. Name Devil has been promoted. Roll a 1d20 again. On 1 to 10, an Aminizu is summoned. 11 to 17 summons a Gelugon, while 18 to 20 summons a Pit Fiend. Once the devil is summoned, the wizard has 1d6 turns to conduct his business. At the end of the duration, the devil returns to hell. The material components of Summon Lesser Bazetsu are 50 gold pieces worth of incense, a calf or goat to sacrifice, and a ritual dagger. True name Alteration Enchantment. Level Wizard 7. Range 30 feet. Duration Special. Area of Effect 1 creature. Components V, S. Casting time Special. Saving throw Negative. True name grants a wizard great power over any living being that has a name, generic or individual, known to the caster. Naturally, most true names aren't known, even by the creatures themselves, for the common names of most beings aren't their true and secret names. True names are discovered through hard work, spying, extensive use of legend lore, and diligent sagecraft. Casting a true name spell requires the wizard to call out the true name of the subject and then begin reciting a verse that describes the nature and history of the subject. This activity has a casting time of 3. Thereafter, in rhyming verse, the caster must describe the desired result of the spell. The results are variable and have a varying additional casting times as noted below. 1. Multiple suggestions. The verses of the rhyme contain from 1 to 4 suggestion spells, each treated as a separate spell. Each verse suggestion requires a casting time of 1 to recite. 2. Weakness and surrender. Each subsequent verse reduces the subject's attack rolls, damage rolls, and saving throws by 1. It also reduces magical resistance by 5%. With each verse, the target must save versus paralyzation or meekly surrender. Once a fiend fails a save, no further saves are necessary. The meekness lasts as does the charm person spell. 3. Polymorph. The verses transform the subject just as if polymorph other had been cast. No system shock roll is required. The number of verses and the casting time vary depending on the degree of change. Mineral to animal equals 10 verses, mineral to vegetable equals 9 verses, vegetable to animal equals 8 verses, animal to animal equals 4 verses, vegetable to vegetable equals 3 verses, mineral to mineral equals 2 verses. The subject returns to its natural form in time. The spell lasts for 6 turns per level of the caster, minus 1 turn for every verse required for the transformation. 4. Transport. The target is subjected to teleport without error. The number of verses necessary depends on the destination. Same plane equals 5 verses. 1 plane removed equals 6 verses. 2 planes removed equals 7 verses. 3 planes removed equals 8 verses. Greater distances are not possible. 5. Domination. The subject is allowed a single save. If it is unsuccessful, the target must serve the caster to the best of its ability for a single day. If the target is required to perform an act highly against its code of ethics, the subject is allowed another save. Every failed save means its next save is a cumulative -1 penalty. A creature under domination is aware of what its body is doing, but is helpless to stop it. Failure to make the saving throw doesn't affect the victim's alignment in any way, but most good creatures will want to atone for any atrocities committed. If the subject of true name is willing, it makes no saving throw or magical resistance roll. If the caster is interrupted during the casting of the spell, the magic fails and the spell is lost. The would-be victim is then free to act as it wishes. Most wizards using the spell make sure that they have plenty of guards against interruption. It's always a good idea to use the spell while the subject is restrained. The spell is among those enchantments on which the basic premises of law-based magic rests. Magical items. The following section details magical items related to Hell. Some are used by its denizens, others by its foes. When using these items, remember it is important to specify the item's plane of origin since they are affected by peculiarities of planar relations. Agrippa. An Agrippa is a blasphemous tome that purports to hold within its secret of summoning devils and other evil spirits. It is usually at least 5 feet tall and has pages made of human skin. Said to hold the heat and fury of hellfire in its pages, an Agrippa is a potent magical item that can cause madness and death. The secret of an Agrippa is that a devil lies bound within it. The devil seeks a mortal of lawful evil alignment to become its keeper. Any character of different alignment who even touches the Agrippa takes 2d12 points of damage from searing fire, half if a saving throw versus spell is made. If the offender is a spellcaster, he must make an additional save versus spell or become feeble-minded, as per the 5th level wizard spell. Should a spellcaster of lawful evil alignment touch the book, the bound devil will take the opportunity to offer its services. The devil offers spells of summoning and, more important, the true names of many important devils in hell. When examined, the book is found to contain an enormous list of names, but most of them are incorrect or out of date. Nonetheless, many wizards succumb to this temptation and bring the Agrippa home with them. Due to the power of the book, an Agrippa is usually kept suspended from the ceiling in chains. It is up to the DM to determine how many real true names are listed in an Agrippa, but 2 to 5, 1d4 plus 1, is a reasonable number. These names are buried among hundreds of others, however, making their detection difficult. A wizard who simply picks one at random has 1% chance of picking an authentic true name. Agrippas also usually contain versions of such spells as Cocofiend, Spirit Rack, and True Name. An Agrippa becomes strangely attached to its keeper. Should he or she ever die, the Agrippa has a 50% chance of lashing out at the friends or loved ones of the deceased. Any appropriate target within 5 miles of the Agrippa must save versus spell or be affected by caused disease or bestow curse, the third level cleric spells. The DM chooses which spell affects which victim as well as the potency of the disease. Amulet of Faith. Amulets of faith are found among the followers of crusading deities such as Saint Cuthbert. They are made of sapphire, usually in the shape of the god's holy symbol. These items are never given to those not of the church. The wearer of the Amulet of Faith gains a +2 bonus to all saving throws versus spells and the spell-like abilities used by devils. The amulet also provides immunity to possession by a Mizikim. Axe of Biting. An axe of biting is a diabolic weapon forged in hell. A few of those weapons have made their way to the prime material plane, either as war booty or gifts of agents of the infernal. These axes are made from the bones of creatures from the lower planes. Each axe is carved from a single piece of bone, engraved with dark runes and soaked in blood. The axe head bristles with razor sharp teeth which chew through the armor and flesh of opponents with ease. A weapon of evil, an axe of biting, cannot be wielded by those of neutral or good alignment. The axe of biting is a battle axe, +3, that inflicts 1d8 plus 1 slash, 1d10 plus 1 damage. If it hits an opponent using a shield of any kind, the shield must make a saving throw of 15 or be destroyed by the axe chewing teeth. Magical shields receive their plus as a bonus to the saving throw. Crossbow of Devil Slaying. This specially enchanted crossbow is a +1 to hit and inflicts +4 damage versus devils. Bolts fired from the crossbow can hit any devil, regardless of how impervious they are to other magical weapons. Scourge of Delight. The Scourge of Delight is a wicked weapon used by forces of hell. Made of the cured skin of Tanari slain in the blood of war, it is a whip with as many as a dozen tails, each embedded with hooked barbs that tear the flesh. The Scourge provides a +2 bonus to hit and to damage, but its true power is more subtle. When a target is hit with the Scourge of Delight, he must save versus spell to resist its effects. If the save is failed, the victim suddenly feels invigorated, despite his horrific wounds. From then on, the victim derives pleasure from each wound inflicted on him and actively seeks to receive more wounds from any weapon, not just the Scourge. Players of characters hit by the Scourge must tell the DM their character's current hit points, and from this point forward, the DM keeps track of them in secret. The victim never has any idea how wounded he is until he dies. The death is a sweet release. Healing spells of any kind, including potions, are horribly painful, and the victim will not submit to them if he has any choice. The magic of the scourge lasts until the victim receives a remove curse. Thank you for listening to this audio reading of Guide to Hell 2nd Edition, chapters 2 to 3. I hope you enjoyed and have a great day. Best regards, Reed.